Australian Poetry Hall of Fame. I'm Thundercloud Repairian. My mum calls me
James!
Thanks very much, Steve. Alright, here we go. I'm a little bit underprepared, but prepared all the same. Don't be scared, be prepared. Waldensamkeit means, it's a German word, and the literal translation, because there's nothing in it in English, is literal forest loneliness. It's a feeling of solitude, being joyfully alone in the woods, and of feeling deeply connected with nature. Ralph Waldo Emerson even wrote a poem about it. So did I. So does that put me on par with Ralph Waldo Emerson? I'm not sure. But I'm going to read out to you Forest Loneliness first of all here, which I've just lost, but I was coming right up. So to start off, well, we got Steve Wordsmith over here, Albanese, Gladys Wilson, Mark Svenson and Roger Clarke coming up tonight, and maybe some more as if anyone else arrives. But forest loneliness. He lived in the forest all by himself, surrounded by trees and very little else. In the morning he woke up and there was a breeze whistling through the trees, rustling their leaves. He would hold his own parties all alone, and when he returned, there was nobody at home. An extroverted introvert and ambivert at best, deep in the forest, he was truly at rest. The cockatoos would screech as they'd fly by, wisps of clouds, a waning moon in the sky. In a small wooden cabin, he'd rest his head. He woke in the morning and rolled up his bed. On a wood fire his breakfast was cooking. He bathed naked in a creek because nobody was looking. He once was a CEO, but it caused him stress. Now he hugged trees and grass he'd caress. Named Forest Loneliness, who lived all alone, trees, birds and animals surrounded his home. Walked away from the city when his house burnt down, and now forest loneliness never has a frown. Woo! Thank you very much. Now, been thinking a little bit about the alien. No, sorry, I can't call them aliens because that would be xenophobic.
Have they visited you?
The extraterrestrials.
That's a better one.
Extraterrestrials, yeah.
No,
because if we were to think of them as aliens and be xenophobic, well, they probably wouldn't want to come here and meet us.
Well, I believe they're in amongst us.
Well, who knows?
Certainly are.
they're called psychiatrists.
Well, these are the extraterrestrials anyway. Which here we go. Oh, where am I? Through space, faster than the speed of light, at the speed of consciousness, they materialized in the night in a translucent crystal mind-controlled craft. They took one look at his rocket and laughed. Your rocket is as primitive as a hunted elephant tusk. Are you Richard Branson or Elon Musk? And he replied, neither. I'm a scientist with dreams and I've worked on this rocket with the best scientific teams. We've come from a galaxy 2 million light years away. We dematerialized there and materialized here today. Our technology is a conscious meld of mind and thought, and we can show you a different way to do it, sport. You must raise your vibration above peace and ineffability, then meld your light body with your technological capability, because the entire universe is one consciousness and mind. When you end separation and become one, you transcend space-time. They didn't speak words, but his third eye was seeing the thoughts projected from these interstellar light beings. These were the thoughts that they projected into his head. When your body dies, your soul lives on and you're not dead. You're a unique light being incarnate on a planet with a sun, each one a different perspective that can choose fear or fun. And you'll never leave the earth until you end your separation in xenophobia, judgment, government and all nations. And then you'll ascend from the darkness of fear and fright and travel across the universe faster than the speed of light. Yeah, I think the aliens have been projecting shit in my head.
You've had an alien intervention.
I did, yeah.
Actually, God, we need one now.
This is about astray, lying, grubby men. If you say it really quickly, Australian grubby men. Australian grubby men take millions of bribes. Astray, lying, grubby men on the left and right sides. Astray, lying, grubby men hide brown bags of cash, and then send out militarised police to bash, and send violent infiltrators to start fights. So then astray, lying, fake media delights in towing the line and hiding corruption as we witness oligarchic democracy destruction. Astray, lying, grubby men have been compromised by the deep state hiding behind lies. They've gone astray.
You've got to speak the truth.
They're grubby. Like their hands are filthy, you know. So they put so much in there. Like how much did what was his name? Porter get? $1 million in a weird bank account somewhere.
Oh yeah.
Which guy was that?
Christian Porter.
Oh. Australian. Did he
But
flog
like,
that?
I don't know, but like there's the Canadian lying grubby men too. Like, have you heard about the Trudeau Foundation?
Oh no.
Oh, like they're all equally compromised. The Clinton Foundation, you probably know about that.
Yeah.
The Bush.
A large download this week of that.
Yeah, well,
Well, Christian's going to need all those dollars because, of course, he has to defend some of his past behaviours.
You might have to, yeah. Welcome.
Hello.
Hey, hello.
Hello.
And Christopher, how are you? Wherever you'd like.
Hey, come on over and sit where you were last time, perhaps.
All right. This is about like transition. Now, this is based on the chaos theory of change. Chaos theory. And a chaos theory is that like, how does it go? It's like everything is quite smooth, right? It's like the ocean. And then the wind blows. It's also, it applies to systems and fractals and a whole bunch of stuff, systemised and institutions. So you imagine you've got a good system, and then the wind blows, and then the little ripples pick up, and those ripples turn into big waves. But as the waves approach the beach, they break. And that's the chaos. But if you dive under the wave, there's this, like, the calm is there. But when the wave like washes up on the beach, and then it goes to flat water again. And this is transitional theory of change anyway. So in order to get to a new higher level or a more positive level of systemisation or whatever, institutionalisation or just anything, you've got to go through a period of chaos, which I kind of see that we're going through at this moment. We're in a transition. So if you dive underneath the wave, it's actually quite calm. You let the chaos wash over you. It's like if you stand up to the wave, you're going to get knocked down, but if you dive under the wave, you can sort of float through. So this is based on that idea, the chaos theory. In the transition to a new situation of calm, a wave rises up approaching the shore, breaking, chaos appears, but there's no harm, but the undertow peacefully zen and more. Stand up to the wave and be knocked down, or dive down below and go with the flow. Fight a tsunami and you'll probably drown, or just let the water flow and take you where you go. Bringing together heaven and earth, deep consciousness into a higher state, collective minds co-create a new rebirth. Nothingness is everything and life is great. Whoa. Yeah, a bit of philosophy there in that one. So yeah, we can either stand up to the wave and get knocked over by it, or we can just
Dive under it
and be calm.
I can't find the right word, James, but there's two scientific concepts. One is entropy, and I can't find the other. One is that a measure of randomness, and in fact, that the more organised things become, I think then you have lesser or greater entropy. I can't recall which, but as one increases, the other decreases.
Yeah.
And so there's entropy, and then there's the other concept. But anyway,
That's very
but they're related to what you're.
It's polarity related in a way. So
Yeah,
you've always got that polarity, but within everything, in yin and yang, it's all one.
Yeah.
All right, a little bit of humour. I was, I got some alpaca wool. I got some alpaca wool this week. A whole lot of alpaca wool, and pretty much within minutes of like getting this wool, this one came out. I was going to call him Keith, but I got a friend called Keith, so Norm will do. Norm. His name was Norm, and he was an alpaca. He lived on a chook farm, and he was a real whacker. He loved dancing and eating green grass to eat. And Norm the alpaca could spin 80 feet. One day Norm was grazing in the sun. He had a bright idea to have a bit of fun. He called the farmer to come and have a look. And Norm the alpaca spat at a chook. He spat so hard that the chook was knocked dead. Then he spat at the farmer and hit him in the head. The farmer went home and called the veterinarian. And the vet came around and he was a Rastafarian. Norm spat all over the vet's dreadlocks, so the vet told the farmer, "I'll cut off his balls and cock." These days, Norm doesn't feel very great ever since the Rasta vet came to castrate. And Norm the alpaca no longer sits, and when he goes to the toilet these days, he sits. Plus, Norm the alpaca no longer has a whacker. He's known as Norma, the transgender alpaca. Poor Norma. Yeah. Had his bits cut off. Look, I'm going to leave it there, and who would like Mark?
I've got to get myself out of the
needs to
way,
get his
because otherwise
bits
I get
off.
nervous.
All right, thank you, Mark. Mark Svenson, everybody.
Enthalpy and entropy. Okay. I'm going to do two pieces. One, I think you probably consider a poem, and the other is more of a polemic, which is a polite way of saying a rant.
So it's not prose, it's a rant, is it?
Hope you can make as much money out of it as Mr. Murdoch.
Oh, gosh. Yes. When I find it in my technology, which I've done rather well with right up until just now. Okay. Now, you'll work out what indeed the name of this piece is. I'll tell you at the end, but you'll know the moment I utter the first words. Bit of a language warning, perhaps. Okay. I love a sunburnt country, a land of sweeping plains, of rugged mountain ranges, and pouring handsome men of all shapes, sizes, colours, dress sense, or no dress sense at all like myself. I love our teeming cities, full of people from around the world. I love our broad horizons, where queers are staking out a space, and where poofters can declare, I'm a poofter, and that doesn't rhyme with pedophile. You dickhead. I love that we can all dress up and glam it in the streets and bars, on the dance floors, and lay drunken and disgraced after a terrific blinder, and not judge for being different, or shy, or having a challenge, or 2 or 3. I love army and gyra and inconsistent work during COVID. I love that Azza is chatting and a few not out guys are chasing us up. They're chasing up Ahoy, not me. I love my sex-addicted friends and envy all their action. I love those diamantes and those men in their little black dresses. I love our drag queens and beehives and 60s numbers. And I love the drag queens' razor wits. Honed just so sharp to be able to survive it. Define it. Our society and every knob within, some are parents and all who teach us, nay demand of us, that we be self-loathing. I love our bejewelled brethren and our rough, tough dykes. I love their manly couture and their huge big bikes. Exceptions being, and you guys won't know this, but homosexuals do know this, exceptions being dykes who hate poofters and poofters who have an aversion to dykes. Now, I say, keep that shit bound up tight, girls, and all you would-be girls and trannies. Just keep it bound up tight. We don't want to hear it. Well, you probably know that's an ode to Dorothea McKellar, a rather privileged young lass who taught Anglo-Celtic Aussies to appreciate our non-European landscapes. An interesting aside is that early whiteys were afraid. Yes, they were afraid of the Australian bush. They recorded their fear in their journals and jottings and published works. But then we usually are afraid of the unfamiliar and the unknown, aren't we, pets? The work of Dorothea and Lindsay and a whole heap of other talented people taught us non-Indigenous people to not fear the unknown bush. Maybe one day we will not fear the blackfellas among whom we are living. As my beautiful youngest sister Stace has told me often, and she's lived in the Northern Territory and worked there many years. Aboriginal culture is a very gentle culture where children are cherished, where those men who are unaffected by abuse and by drink, they're the most wonderful fathers, where Aboriginal mothers give their children wide latitude to explore and learn through experiences and repetition and inclusion in survival skills. And they give their children the chance to make mistakes. Where close observation of the minutest changes in landscape and plants, now those are learned. And that observation is valued and is crucial as to where to go next. It's crucial for survival. Thanks, Dorothea, and may my mate Rogery, who won't see this, may you prosper, mate. I'm so privileged to live now after so many fights have been fought. May you too have an Aboriginal mate like Roger into your life so that you can learn from him or her. Okay, that's not the polemic. The polemic is...
I thought you'd been ranting already, mate.
Oh, I am already ranting. This is the polemic.
Decanting.
No, well, it could be decanting. Yes, Barnaby, we could decant you. Okay.
I think we might have to class this one 80 over actually, mate.
Okay. ScoMo, quit while you're behind. Lax Vax, roll out. China diplomacy. I'm in Hawaii.
Black hole.
I'm in Hawaii. You roasting Aussies.
Yes, thank you, John. There you go.
F you, France. Not even a heads up about those subs. Climate change? Oh, crap. Just ask over those 500 dead Canadians and those multitude of Californians who got fried this summer in the Northern Hemisphere. There's nothing to it. Glaciers melting in a huge floodslide. Athabasca. The Athabasca Glacier, I've been there. Glad I saw it while it still existed. It was one of the largest on Earth. Well, it used to be. Go, Scotty. Go, go, go. Signed, Mark, a little left of Senate, still vote mainstream in House of Reps. We need a change, perhaps coalition of sensible Senate, Greens, Labor, Independents, and Integrity. That SA Senator and other talented women, and black fellas, black women, and LGBTQI candidate. Don't forget young people. They won't have to pay for our stuff in the planet.
Good one, Mark. Good one, Mark.
Thanks, guys.
Are you going to take over there now, Rod? You going to slip in there?
I don't know.
Mark defrags the Dalek.
I don't know after they put in the
Thanks, guys.
gay poem.
I like the end. Had a strange verbal texture.
Someone familiar.
So much better than I think.
I read some poems last year. I was inspired by just loneliness and
Existential anguish.
yeah, something like that. So these were only short poems, but they all rhyme, so I put them into one big poem, 4 of them. So I'm going to read them out to you. And it goes, it's all about life and it's all about what I feel within nature and how I'm inspired in life to appreciate this world and what it has offered me throughout my past. So it goes, a moment of time, a nice eerie place, a beauty that's shone through eyes that of grace, a reflection so blue, a green shade of space. Earth's greatest wonder shows its beautiful face. A new dawn arises on a brand new day. The love of good living has shown that pays. To appreciate life and not get led astray from a wonderful life in such a beautiful way. A light on the horizon, our earth so beneath, a life so worth living, in life we must keep. We strive to survive as the universe repeats, a light through our darkness, a connection so deep. Between light and darkness there is hope or regret, the love that will heal or the hate that is felt. The flowers that bloom that comes from the trees, the givers of life, is that from the seeds. The nectar it has, the birds love to feed, nature's beautiful wonders is all that we need.
Woo! I like the look of that poem. You should show it to the camera. It looks good.
I was commenting how I like the look of Roger's shirt earlier.
I like this one. Can you go, Mark?
How it suits him.
I told everyone on YouTube that they
He's a little bit worried about not liking his shirt.
So just before I start, I would like to say, which is totally unrelated to my poem, that one of the best ones I've heard on your first poem, I was from someone, was from someone on the internet saying whether they thought drag queens should be around children, and then someone replied right on that, of course not, someone fabulous would get hurt. Yeah. So my first of 2 poems tonight is an installment from the Revolting Rhymes by Roald Dahl, and the first one is Little Red Riding Hood and the Wolf. As soon as Wolf began to feel that he would like a decent meal, he went and knocked on Grandma's door. When Grandma opened it, she saw the sharp white teeth, the horrid grin, and Wolfie said, "May I come in?" Poor Grandma was terrified. "He's going to eat me up," she cried. And she was absolutely right, he ate her up in one big bite. But Grandma was small and tough, and Wolfie cried, "This isn't enough. I haven't yet begun to feel like I have had a decent meal." He ran around the kitchen yelping, "I've got to have a second helping." Then he added with a frightful leer, "I'm therefore going to wait right here till little Miss Red Riding Hood comes home from walking in the wood." He quickly put on Grandma's clothes, of course he hadn't eaten those. He dressed himself in coat and hat, he put on shoes, and after that he even brushed and curled his hair, then sat himself in Grandma's chair. In came the little girl in red. She stopped, she stared, and then she said, "What great big ears you have, Grandma! All the better to hear you with," the wolf replied. "What great big eyes you have, Grandma!" said Little Red Riding Hood. "All the better to see you with," cried the wolf. He sat there watching her and smiled. He thought, "I'm going to eat this child. Compared with her old grandmama, she's going to taste like caviar." Then Little Red Riding Hood said, "But Grandma, what a lovely great big furry coat you have on." "That's wrong," cried Wolf. "Have you forgot to tell me what big teeth I've got?" "Ah, well, no matter what you say, I'm going to eat you anyway." The small girl smiles. One eyelid flickers. She whips a pistol from her knickers. She aims at the creature's head and bang, 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 she shoots him dead. A few weeks later in the wood, I come across Miss Riding Hood. But what a change! No cloak of red, no silly hood upon her head. She said, "Hello, and do please note my lovely furry wolfskin coat."
Pull the hood over her.
Oh,
Not
no,
quite yet.
Wonderful. Encore.
Bang,
Um,
bang, bang.
My second one tonight is another one from Rolting Rhymes called The Three Little Pigs. The animal I really dig, above all others, is the pig. Pigs are noble, pigs are clever, pigs are courteous. However, now and then, to break this rule, one meets a pig who is a fool. What, for example, would you say if, strolling through the woods one day, right in front of you saw a pig who'd built his house of straw? The wolf who saw it licked his lips and said, "This pig has had his chips. Little pig, let me in." "No, no, not by the hairs of my chinny chin chin. Then I'll huff and I'll puff and I'll blow your house in." The little pig began to pray, but Wolfie blew his house away. He shouted, "Bacon, pork and ham! Oh, what a lucky wolf I am!" And though he ate the pig quite fast, he carefully kept the tail till last. Wolf wandered on, a trifle bloated. Surprise, surprise, for soon he noted another little house of pigs, and this one had been built of twigs. Little pig, let me in." "No, no, not by the hairs of my chinny chin chin. Then I'll huff and I'll puff and I'll blow your house in." The wolf said, "Okay, here we go." He then began to blow and blow. The little pig began to squeal. He cried, "Oh, wolf, you've had one meal. Why can't we talk and make a deal?" The wolf replied, "Not on your Nelly," and soon the pig was in his belly. "Two juicy little pigs," the wolf cried, "but still I'm not quite satisfied. I know how full my tummy's bulging, but oh, how I adore indulging." So, creeping quietly as a mouse, the wolf approached another house, a house which also had inside a little piggy trying to hide. "You'll not get me," the piggy cried. "I'll blow your house down," Wolf replied. "You'll need," Pig said, "a lot of puff, and I don't think you've got enough." Wolf huffed and puffed and blew and blew. The house stayed up as good as new. "If I can't blow it down," Wolf said, "I'll have to blow it up instead, and come back in the dead of night and blow it up with dynamite." Pig cried, "You brute, I might have known." Then picking up the telephone, he dialed as quickly as he could the number of Miss Riding Hood. Hello, she said, "who's speaking?" "Who?" "Oh, hello, Piggy, how do you do?" Pig cried, "I need your help, Miss Hood." "Oh, help me, please, do you think you could?" "I'll try, of course," Miss Hood replied. "What's on your mind?" "A wolf," Pig cried. "I know you've dealt with wolves before, and now I've got one at my door." "My darling Pig," she said, "my sweet, that's something really up my street. I've just begun to wash my hair, but when it's dry, I'll be right there. A short while later, through the wood, came striding brave Miss Riding Hood. The wolf stood there, his eyes ablaze, and yellowish like mayonnaise. His teeth were sharp, his gums were raw, and spit was dribbling from his drawer. Once more the maiden's eyelid flickers. She draws the pistol from her pistol. She draws the pistol from her knickers. Once more she hits the vital spot and kills him with a single shot. Peek, 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 peek. I'll get it one day, hang on. Pig peeping through the window stood and yelled, "Well done, Miss Riding Hood!" Ah, Piglet, you must never trust young ladies from the upper crust. For now Miss Riding Hood, one note, not only has 2 wolfskin coats, but when she goes from place to place, she has a pigskin travelling case.
Okay, who's going to go next? Steve, I'll do one quick one.
I'll do something.
All right, no worries. Okay, right. We'll go with illusions. Illusions of patterns on repeat. Is it popcorn that you eat, watching video or watched on screens, a chessboard with no teams? Are there abstractions? Also distractions ruled by market interactions in a world of factions, electronic platforms with spikes on a chart, non-fungible tokens of blockchain art, battery chickens, Twitter and tweet, carpet is not tasty to eat, is a left-brain world insane, dogmatic, Catholic repeated game, throwing porridge on walls, sloppily living in a game of monopoly. Art is the cultivation of play, novelty created, served on a tray, conforming to what's cool. Creative children squashed in school. I owned a cat called Norm. Thought for himself, didn't conform. After a left step comes a right. After a day's a night without light, egoic made-up projections of vanity. Is this a form of insanity? Are we all living in a nursery of romance? Happy anniversary! Movement through time gets things done. Play-based learning is creative fun. Run, Billy, run, Billy, run, Billy, run! Life trajectory defined by education of how well you regurgitate information, boxes ticked, competency-based training, blowing bubbles in puddles. It's raining, left brain robot men in pink, painted by artists who creativity think. What would be the best time for doing? Funny ideas come when pooing, learning, earning, stomachs churning, spewing. Every holiday, the skin is burning.
Very good.
Bit of a surrealist kind of poem there. So, Ashley. Ashley Albanese. Albanese.
Strangely enough, this guy is considered maybe amongst the top 20 English poets of the 20th century. But none of us have ever heard of him because he lived in Aotearoa and the long white cloud dropped on top of him one afternoon and he was left with his collected works. But he is a great poet, actually. He would have loved Gyra. He would have loved Gyra. All I will read from his works tonight are the opening words of this volume that the editor chose. Reminds me of that old song, Lale, Lale, the falcon hath borne my Mac away. He bare him up, he bare him down, he bare him to an orchard brown. And in the orchard, in the hall there was a hung so red with purple and fall. I've forgotten it. That's what I don't like about being 70. Now, this is short and not as philosophical. Within that land there is a range, and on that range there is a cone. And on that cone there is a rock, and on that rock there is a cave. And in that cave there is a stone. And on that stone I carved a name. And the cut letters will remain at length when there are no more men, but only a little dust fallen on gully, rock and cone. He's a very great writer indeed, this guy. And I think as he fits into the frame of Australasia, he can come to the Australian Poets Hall of something or other. Blame. Yes, blame. Blame. Well, I've got two friends in Armidale. I do have two. Chaz and... That's not funny. That's tragic. But I'm coping. I have two friends, Chaz and Baz, and they sent this to me, and they want me to read it and edit it as I read it. Baz wrote to me and he said, look, these are my notes from my discussions with Chaz, and if you like and it goes over well, and well it will go over, I'll send you one each week for some time of our discussions as we peripatetise around Armidale. So, Chaz and I were a wander down Beatty Street. Chaz said, see those postcards of Armidale in the window there? Yes, I do. Chaz wound up then for true. Don't you think, he went on, it's strange that amongst the iconic tributes to Uanese Buluminbar Ebor Falls, the 19th century courthouse and other sundries, the ever-kangarooing arches of the post office and the so splendid Technicolor evocations of the big neon pulsing Woolworths shopping complex Big Box, he's wonderful, he's very articulate, and I enjoy reading him when he posts. And it's got a wonderful feel when you play with the paper now, compared to the wonderful digit tapping of the world we've got into with plastic. Now, Chaz, Baz said, that's quite a mouthful, that sentence. You call it social comment, don't you? Yes, Baz, I often do think it's strange, but I put it down to Armidale's love for the spirit of T.S. Eliot. Well, that got me. I wanted to tell you, Mr. Albanese, I'm putting that in brackets, that got me when he said the spirit of T.S. Eliot. So I replied, so when you assert that I presume you are thinking of Eliot's line, that human beings can't bear very much reality, you are implying that Armidale can't face the overpowering presence and simple beauty of its Trojan horse-like US corporate supermarket city box, the shrine, the great maw of money flowing out of local communities as an oblationary offering to the god of material fecundity. You can't say that. You're not allowed to say that in Beatty Street. So we went down to the corner and he said, look, if you go up there around past the Celtic Cross, you'll come to the police station. And if you go and knock at the door, they won't reply, but they'll take you in. Mm-hmm. So he went on. He got very, eulogistic. Food largely in packaged form, plastic packaged form, mind you. So I felt quite as we sauntered our way along that the plastic boxes of food would burst out of the Woolworths all along where once Social Security had been. I observed to Chaz that when I reached home, I would publish his astute but simple observations by declaiming them at the Poets Hall of Fame about the postcard culture a la Armidale as the Armidale Forum site. Chaz looked excited and expected. Jimmo, tell your readers I'm finishing a set of canvases, Mondrian-like interpretations of the Centro shopping complex splendours in the full dimension of their cubist power. And I said, splendid. I was impressed by that rejoinder. So moving on through madness, I sat in the park and I wrote this little ditty, which reminds me of earlier philosophy tonight. No individuation without actualisation. No actualisation without individuation. And that comes from every good philosophy textbook, except the French and German ones who don't agree with it. That's true, actually. All the English philosophy textbooks say that. No individuation without alienation, I've forgotten now. But they all say that, but the French and German ones don't. So we are caught, ladies and gentlemen, on an axiomatic puzzle. Yes, so this is a short one about glorious Gyra. Late winter, early summer. Which is it through Gyra late September days? Longer light than one can imagine in the Arvos now. The bullock teamsters arriving, yes, after Black Mountain or coming across from Ben Lomond. Packs going through to the Chinese channelers, mining Inverell Way for what? For what, we wonder. We now, through the first snow's flaky scurry, do have a thought for these things. We hear the echo still of bullock whip, where now the combustion engine carpers its purpose. So,
That's your own composition?
yeah, I sat in the park and I sat in my little white car and wrote that then. So I will bring some more of Bazza and Ken's philosophical, the way they use the English language for uneducated men showed you what education can do.
All right.
Another splendid evening.
Ladies and gentlemen, poet in residence, Steve Wordsmith.
Actually, that was great, mate. Those mates of yours are a funny pair.
I'll bring you some more of their outpourings.
Oh, God, yeah.
Well, good evening, one and all. It's really good to be here at the Australian Poetry Hall of Fame, James.
Are they new glasses?
Yeah, they are actually. They're new glasses. The eyeballs aren't quite as good as they used to be, but they're getting there.
You're all colour coordinated tonight.
Oh, colour coordinated tonight. That's a little bit out of character for me. I'm usually rainbow, because we are going into that age of Aquarius. I'd just like to recognise the traditional owners of this land, and thank you, James, for setting up this wonderful place that we can come and tell our tales and inspire one and each and every one of us for telling yarns and tales and things that we've learned. I understand that all people alive have some talent. From where it comes, it's not known. Some sing and dance or act out romance. It's a part of your life like a poem. When telling a joke is your forte, or telling the humour of life, or painting a beautiful landscape, or serenading the friends in your life. Yes, talent's a part of our makeup. It comes natural in the things that we do, not always in the things expected, and not always in the things that we choose. Christopher, I'd just like to compliment you on your wonderful renditions of Red Riding Hood today and such. It was fabulous, and it really inspired the humour of the place and had the laughs going. It was very good, and it's really good to see you stand up and do that, Christopher. Thank you, Mark. I've seen you tell a bit of humour in the past and such, and you are a very funny man, mate. We have a name for you. We call you the Fat Man, but I'm sorry about that, but that's okay. Ashley, I love what you do, mate. It's always good. Gladys, it's good to see you here too, an up-and-coming poet in the situation. And Rogery, my dear brother, it's, brother from another mother. It's wonderful, I was woken up during the night last night by the beautiful spring equinox moon. What a wonderful moon it was. I saw the poetry of, and it was interesting. The poems were just running through, and I was writing down lines, and it got very cold during the night, and I just thought, I've got to get back to bed. And every time I close my eyes, up come another line, and I've got to get out of bed and write it. And poetry flies like that, and it's wonderful to see things happen in that way. Some of the poems that we are inspired to write and to put around the place, are just fabulous poems. And I've had such an inspiration in the last few days or last period of time, because I've sort of come to an understanding that we're in a very interesting part in life, and I sort of jotted one down there, and I call it when the fire burns. We sit around the fire and we share our tales, and when we've won and when we've failed, of loves we've had and times in jail. Bound by the Spirit and not by blood, we stand as brothers with compassion and love. We stand at time when the world is damaged and torn apart. Brothers stand with great big hearts, sharing, caring for each other, of loss of family and the stolen mothers. This is a time of profound change, telling of the warriors who stand on the range with the spear and the boomerang in hand, and dream time and make our plans of walkabouts throughout this ancient land. Widgery, the wordsmith, and Fat Man. To James, James is around, but he's out of view. In the morning, a coffee. Before we talk, we grab the dog and we go for a walk. So they're just tales that we write in different ways. And it's good to see when we start putting words down, but I've really been touched by an understanding at the moment, and there's one thing that we really know, I really would like to move away from all religious understanding and things of that nature, but really there's one person that's touched me more, this bloke called Jesus, and he just said to me, love and compassion. Love and compassion is what we need in these fabulous times, because if we stand in our brain and our understanding and not follow our heart, we will have the wrong place. Because that's one of the things that's been happening. These academics, these corporations, these government people, these bureaucracies and such are just leading us down the wrong path. And it's time to follow our heart. And I call this sharing space. When the moon rising on a brand new day, two hearts in collaboration, showing the way to break the moulds of hurts and pains, working in unison without any constraints. 1 + 1 makes 11, they say, as we combine our talents in brotherly ways and brotherly love. Compilations in spirit and gifted in art to spiritual brothers from a different mother, from a different parts. Words of the wisdom in a wisdom and trust, brought together through the shit and the dust. It's time to change, we set the path. Wiradjuri and the wordsmiths stand, not bound by the hurts of this ancient land, with gifts that are given from the spirit and trust, not impeded by shame and lust. Standing together, not divided by greed, working together, we will succeed. Full moon shines through snow clouds in winter equinox as we combine our talents in a brand new ways. Word of the ancient, together in a brand new way, in a time when the world needs change. Standing together, not divided, we stand, walking in the dreaming throughout this land. Walk about times of music and art, no division, only working as one. This is the change that is needed today. Divine wisdom is given from above when we walk together in compassion and love. Thank you, brother. One thing that I've really realised, and as we walk through this times of difficulty and change, when we need to really question everything that's happening around us, we really need to question some of the things that we've proven and seen, and as people are damaged. I would just like to pay homage to, and I've been touched by this need for compassion in times like this. See, when the God of all creation sent his only Son, I wasn't even thought of when they said he was the one. When he turned the waters into wine and he touched the blind man's eyes. When he walked upon the waters, it was way before my time. And the thorns were digging in his head and they spat upon his face. with eyes so deep he looked at them, and he shone with all his grace. He's the Alpha, the Omega, the beginning and the end, and even back 2,000 years, he was thinking of us then. And, you know, I was challenged earlier in the week when I made some statements about governmental and corporations and things that I was being judgmental. And then when I see the grace that Jesus had, even at the times when they crucified him and stuck him on a tree, and he shone with grace. And really, in these times when we see all this corruption and hurt and people damaged from many ways, whether it's lies or misconceptions in any way, because there's all sorts of untruths being told at the moment, and really we have to have love and compassion. Follow our heart in these times, because love is it's truly our way and our protection in life at this time. You know, to really walk and see and have compassion for people, because we have opinions, and opinions are like bumholes. Everybody has one.
And some of them are full of shit.
And some of them are full of shit. And it's usually arseholes of sport. When the people say, oh, shit happens, yeah, but it's an arsehole that's caused it. You know, so in many ways we've got to really challenge everything that we see and everything that we hear, because I've seen so many of our truths and our rights, human rights, to be taken away from us. The right to breathe fresh air has been taken off us. And I'm really challenged in this way. You know, I don't follow I don't follow this direction that the government lays to put on a mask. Sorry about that, I've got adjustment disorder. What's the adjustment disorder? I can't adjust to the bullshit. I can't adjust to the bullshit, and I will not conform. And I will not follow a man that parties while my people burn, because I'll tell you, they're not his people. He doesn't freaking care. Thank you, James.
Thank you.
I don't agree with that. But
Well, that's okay.
We're going to
sing your
The scoreboard here.
Oh, no,
Gladys,
I didn't say that.
Wilson, everybody, who's going to do, well, take that out of the
the
way.
fact they want to
It's
squash
Gumtree.
Well, thank you. Good evening,
Well, then
everybody.
do your
Thanks,
research,
James.
and we make it
And
in
thanks to the
discussion.
young man for the Little Red Riding Hood. Takes me back to my school days. Anyway, this is, I wrote this one, I don't know how long ago. I think when James first opened. A Gum Tree's Lament. Now, I'll get over here so I can see it. I am a precious old gum tree. I've stood here for more than 100 years or so, and faced all kinds of weather with wind, rain and snow. I once felt quite at home on this land where I still dwell, but please take a moment of your time. My sad story I will tell. As you know, many trees were all around me, but sadly they are gone. Their stumps still surround me, where once they all proudly stood upon. As I stand alone in the moonlight, with my leaves all a silvery glow, and dream of the days when I was a young gum tree, all those years ago. Back then I stood so proud and tall, and was a treasure to behold, but the sound of chainsaws now just makes my sap run cold. You may think of me as no longer useful, and my days nearly done, but I've sheltered you many times from the blazing sun. I give refuge to the weary stock as they rest beneath me every night, and flocks of birds now nestle on my branches after their morning flight. But I beg of you, my good friend, just spare me a little thought as you glance at my ragged old body where many battles have been fought. Of course, I'm not what I used to be, but surely I can trust that you will not cut me down and turn me into sawdust. As my roots all start to tremble, now with weeping branches hanging low, and still I dread to think of that terrible day when I may have to go. As I wake up each morning and thankfully take another breath, I pray that you will leave me here just to die a natural death. Now looking to my future, whatever that may be, but it always will remain a precious old gum tree.
Alright, thanks, Gladys.
Is that your composition, Jack?
No, that's Gladys's.
That's Gladys' composition.
Yeah,
That's beautiful.
Gladys has written about 10 or so poems since
Yeah,
I've
I'm on one now, and it's just it's naturally really fake, this one.
Well, now you're published, Gladys. You're published.
Oh, well, I
Well, but you know what it means, it's kind of very firming for me having come here and opened the Australian Poetry Hall of Fame and suddenly Gladys is writing poetry at that age, you know, when she'd run a written one or two before, so yeah.
Well, James, I've got to actually contest something there. I've given Gladys 2 lifts in recent days, and I'm not quite sure whether she's Little Red Riding Hood or she's the other character in the but she's one of them.
Okay, a little quick one, and then Roger's got some more. This is about a penguin. There once was a penguin, and his name was Pete. He had a lot of fish to eat, and he had very big feet. He said to his wife, "These fish are very nice, but I can't keep my feet warm standing on the ice." His wife, named Mary, called a polar bear to sit on Pete's feet and warm him with his hair. The polar bear came and sat on Pete's feet he sat. Then he ate Pete because Pete was yummy and fat. The moral of the story is no matter how cold you feel, don't call a polar bear to warm you, call a fur seal. Alright, and Roger, he's got another one.
Alright. This is poems of nursery rhymes. So I just read 2 little ones. I think they're funny. And it goes, Humpty Dumpty sat on the wall. Humpty Dumpty made a phone call to bet on some horses and find the old man who owed him so much money he will never lend them again. Jack and Jill went up the hill to fetch a pail of water. Jack fell down and lost a pound of really good marijuana. Gee, what's up the cover of it? I'm cursed by it.
Which hill was that?
I'm telling you. Alright, I read these 2 poems this morning. I was at Steve Wordsmith's place and for a cup of coffee, and these poems came to me because he inspired me with his life poems lately, and plus James. They're turning me a poet, I don't even know it. So here's the first one I read this morning, and it's called Spokes on a Wheel.
Spokes on a wheel?
I don't know how we came up with this, but he tried to chuck it into my poem, and I said, "You're stuffing up my poem. Look, I'm just going to call it Spokes on a Wheel." So it goes, everything has a reason for all of us to see. Life's realisation is the planting of a seed. Growing is a lesson, a life of what we need. If we do it the right way, we strive to make it be. Through tough times and the bad times, we stand for what is right, having the strength and courage and earth life's greatest might. So this country's beautiful people start to stand for what is true, so the governments of this world can't take it all from you. So start to love all you have and be the best you can. Stand up for your beliefs and hold each other's hand. For what makes this world go round, we strive to understand, is we are ruled by common laws of the land and not by greedy men. Okay, this is another one written this morning. In times of life, the love we seek has no end, like the universal spirit that seeks to mend. Through light and darkness is what we feel. There is no beginning and there is no end. Life has a secret we will have to accept, that one day from this world we have to adapt, to be the persons we are created to be, like a flying insect to a flowering seed. Earth's greatest creation is the spirit in need, the soul-loving connection, the hazmat of peed. So where do we go, or what will we be, is the spirit of love we all strive to feel. So where are we going, or what can we heal, is the hidden agenda of life's humanity.
Thank you very much, Roger Clarke. This one was written back in July. It's another one about the aliens coming far faster than the speed of light. I guess it's a bit based on my sort of view of statism being a form of slavery. In fact, like when you actually protest against the state, you're admitting that they are your masters and you're a slave in a way.
Try to do without one. Try to do without one. Try to do without a police force.
The Aboriginal
I think
people
we should
did
be
very
self-governing.
Aboriginal people did very well in this country without a police
No, I
force.
understand.
Statism is kind of slavery. Friedrich Nietzsche wrote about this, about slave morality. That when everyone is, slaves to, bosses, corporate bosses or governments, then they all have a slave morality, which they sort of, let's take back. But anyway, let's get on to the aliens coming in. He turned himself into a plasma and sped across the night through a wormhole in the universe faster than the speed of light, and landed on a water planet full of men and women. Some were fighting, others laughing, some of them were swimming. Some were scared, some controlled, others were in control, called governed men. Some men dug and others filled in holes, but he was perplexed by this primitive species fighting when billions of years ago on his planet they were all uniting. He turned himself back into matter and he was a giant light being, and all the funny little humans all quivered at what they were seeing. They shot ballistic nuclear missiles, but they went right through. The scared little human beings didn't know what to do. Until he said, "Humans, you're as primitive as pond slime. You'll evolve when you stop fighting. Now is the time for you to work together, get rid of nations and govern men. You are all the same species of women and of men."
Lovely.
And there's a couple more that I'm going to do. Going back to this one is one of gratitude. Winds can be cold and snow's falling. Weather is beautiful even when appalling. But one thing is constant, is my attitude of universal acceptance through gratitude. Stinking hot, dry, scorchingly sunny, bees fly about making us honey, not fussing or fighting, and never rude, peaceful and blissful, no need to feud. Spring brings flowers, new growth to trees, leaves fall in autumn, blown by a breeze, thunderclouds roar from lightning strikes, all kinds of weather I love and like. Sleeting, showers and hail, torrential rain in rivulets, in fields bringing life again. Swans nest and ducks swim on the lagoon, cygnets and duckling will be hatching soon. Wattle blooms, golden roses and tulips, bringing love to this heart and words to my lips. A cup overflowing is more than enough for us to celebrate. Life isn't really that tough. Night turns to day and day into night. Why would I fuss and fight when I could write about beauty in life that brings delights and lifts us up from low to high mountain heights? Before the sun rises, I crawl from my bed to meditate daily and clear my head. Clouds passing by quickly, as here I sit in wonder and awe at the dawn, golden lit. 1 reason, 2 reasons, 7, 8, 9, so much to appreciate at this time, to put into words and share this passion for you, me, Mother Earth, only compassion.
Very nice.
And we're just about over. Is there anyone else who wants to do one more before I finish off? Okay, Chris, the father.
And first, I'd like to say thank you. As first, I'd like to say thank you for everyone for how amazing it is to be able to present like this. I know several years ago that I was talking to someone and I got caught on this massive vocal block. I couldn't speak at all. I could barely breathe because of how I was trying to use my body to force out words, and it just wasn't happening. And then somehow, with the least comforting thing he could have said, he somehow gave me the opportunity to speak in that way about it, because he said, I can't even describe his tone of voice, but like, he saw me struggling and he said, "Oh, don't worry, I get paid by the hour." And I said, "Yeah, that's probably how long it'll take me to speak." And so, before this wraps up, I'd like to have one more poem from Revolting Rhymes called The Pig. In England once there lived a big and wonderfully clever pig. To everybody it was plain that Piggy had a massive brain. He worked out sums inside his head. There was no book he hadn't read. He knew what made an airplane fly. He knew how engines worked and why. He knew all this, but in the end, one question drove him round the bend. He simply couldn't puzzle out what life was really all about. What was the reason for his birth? Why was he placed upon this earth? His giant brain went round and round. Alas, no answer could be found. Till suddenly, one wondrous night, all in a flash he saw the light. He jumped up like a ballet dancer and yelled, "By gum, I've got the answer! They want my bacon, slice by slice, to sell at a tremendous price. They want my tender, juicy chops to put in all the butcher shops. They want my pork to make a roast, and that's the part that'll cost the most. They want my sausages and strings. They'll even want my chitterlings. The butcher shop, the carving knife, that are the reason for my life." Such thoughts as these are not designed to give a pig great peace of mind. Next morning in comes Farmer Bland. A pail of pig's wool in his hand, and Piggy with a mighty roar bashes the farmer to the floor. Now comes the rather grisly bit, so let's not make too much of it. Except that you must understand that Piggy did eat Farmer Bland. He ate him up from head to toe, chewing his pieces nice and slow. It took an hour to reach the feet, but because there was so much to eat. And when he finished, Pig, of course, felt absolutely no remorse. Slowly he scratched his brainy head, and with a little smile he said, "I had a fairly powerful hunch that he might have me for his lunch. And so, because I feared the worst, I thought I'd better eat him first." Our final piece is, I believe, in 1952, not entirely a poem, but more of a take on a classic nursery rhyme, but with a twist. That was originally presented by Johnny Stanley, where he'd walk out with his massive book in his hands and this lovely straw hat, and it was called "In the Book." Sorry, it was called "It's in the Book." Actually, yeah. I have a message for you. a very sad message. My message for this evening will be Little Bo Peep. It says here, Little Bo Peep, who was a little girl, has lost her sheep and doesn't know where to find them. Now that's reasonable. It's reasonable to assume if Little Bo Peep had lost her sheep, it's only natural that she wouldn't know where to find them. But leave them alone. I admit that overwhelms me. Completely overwhelms me. The man said she lost her sheep, turns right around and boldly states she doesn't know where to find them, and then has the stupid audacity to say, leave them alone. Now, think a moment. Think. If the sheep were lost, and you couldn't find them, you'd have to leave them alone, wouldn't you? You can't do much harm to a sheep when you don't know where they are. So leave them alone. Leave them alone. It's in the book. They being the sheep, they will come home. Ah yes, they'll come home. For there'll be a brighter day tomorrow. They will come home. It's in the book. They will come home wagging their tails. Pray tell me, what else could they wag? They will come home wagging their tails. Behind them. They would come home wagging their tails behind them.
Wouldn't be fun.
Did we not think they would be in front? Of course, they might have come home in reverse. They might have done that, I don't know. But regardless, it's in the book. Now, if you will, I would like you to turn to your books and open up page 222. We will ask you all to sing. All together, now let's really enjoy it. Mrs. O'Malley, out in the valley, suffers from ulcers, I understand. Swallowed a cake of Grandma's Lysol, has the cleanest ulcers in the land.
That's excellent. Thank you very much, Christopher. And that brings me to the ride of life, because you are riding on the roller coaster. Yeah. A roller coaster ride in an amusement park. Enter a tunnel from light into dark, so dark that it's a moonless night, knowing that I'll emerge in the light. Up and down on a bumper car, this journey is fast, not going far. Plunging from up high above, transcend fear, laughing with love, avoiding monsters, trouble and strife. This ride is called the ride of life. I am that I am being here, laughing at life, having no fear, that cuts some passengers like a knife on a roller coaster called the ride of life. Woo! Thank you very much everyone for coming tonight to this Australian Poetry Hall of Fame. Thank you everyone out there in the Facebook world, YouTube world, and we'll see you next week on Wednesday.
Don't forget to wish all those translating Jonathan Swift into Swahili.